So, hello, good evening, everyone. So, we're back again and with a Ask Me Anything session with Ankit Doshi. So, guys, Ankit is the creator of Inside I Am. So, he has been running Inside I Am for the last 9 years. So, welcome, Ankit, to the session, and thank you so much for your time. So, guys, today we're going to talk about the new program that we have launched called the Growth Sessions with Ankit Doshi. So it's a 30 days episode where Ankit it writes and curates stories to motivate and to give out ideas on how the growth mindset is important for everyone to succeed in life. So Ankit, on that note, so why don't you give us a small detail about just about what this growth story program is and why you are so motivated to start this program?
Okay, first of all, I'm just, quite amused by the kind of title you've given to this particular session. You make me sound like a self-help guru, but I'm not. So, growth stories was an idea which was encouraged by people within the team. It was also encouraged by a lot of our readers on InsideIam.com. And I thought that there is maybe a case to do a 30-day kind of a program where I can help a lot of our community and people who want to sign up for this to think better and make better decisions now, whether it is with respect to taking a common admission test, whether it is with respect to placements in their B school, whether it is with respect to running their own business, or if they have some decisions to be taken, at their workplace. And these are some of the things that I have learned with experience over the years. And I believe that, if you keep certain, I wouldn't say principles because then it means as if they are rules, but a certain philosophy in mind when you attempt uh, important things in life, then you are probably better served because a lot of what I write or a lot of what I talk about is essentially stuff that other people have discovered, over the years. And I'm just trying to distill that in an organized way and in a way in which we can actually use it. Also, I, put in my own bit in that, and anything that I write has some amount of emotion and some connection to my past life as well. So yeah, that's what the growth story program is all about. The other thing, Devayan, I also wanted to tell you about is that we've been doing uh, stories, videos, etc., all these years, and we've never really charged our community. And I think we are now at that cusp. We are at the cusp of uh, a movement now in India where I think people are going to pay for quality content. And if you feel that what we deliver over all these years has been useful to you, and if you find the content that we give you making a difference to your life, then maybe think of contributing directly to the creator rather than us having to depend on ads or us having to depend on other institutions to support the company. So I think it was a combination of a lot of these things, and that's how the growth stories program came into being.
So for as you mentioned, so one is the growth story will also be helping people who are appearing for CAT that's coming in a few weeks, and then the other part
That's
is
true.
helping, yeah. So other part is helping students in their B schools for their placements and also working professionals. So for that you have created two tracks. So one is for people who are appearing for CAT, and the other one is for working professionals and people who are currently in their B schools. So for the ones who are going to appear for cats, we have received a lot of positive response. So people have been sending us emails, else they're thanking you for the kind of content that you have written. So one of the things that I really liked was the email that we received after the second episode was released. Is so it was building on your strengths versus worrying about your weaknesses. So why don't you give us a brief about the episodes, or even if you can start off with the second episode. So guys, I am putting up the link for the second episode here, so if you have not yet read the episode, please do read it.
Okay.
Yeah, Ankit.
um so look, the second episode. So, by the way, guys, the first 5 episodes of this program are completely free. We have been sending it out to the aspirant community because that's the track that we've started with over the last 4 days. Today was episode 4. So, episode 2 spoke about whether we should focus on your strengths versus worrying about your weaknesses. And personally, I think, you know, we've all faced this issue in life where uh, we're always told about what we lack. And at almost all points of time in life, we end up spending far more time, thinking about what we lack and how we can improve on that as compared to focusing on what is really unique about us and what our strength is. Because what ends up happening is that, you cannot ever be world class in something that you are not naturally gifted in, or something that you had to put in a lot of work to just come to a basic parity with other people, right? Now, should I, if I have 100 units of time, should I focus 50 units on my weaknesses, 50 units on my strengths, or would I rather put 80 units on my strength and focus on maybe, you know 20 units I'll give to my weaknesses, to try and ensure that I'm, not completely crushed or trampled upon, by my competitors in a game, or maybe in a test like cat. So I believe that always focus on your strengths. It's something that you will be naturally good at doing. You will be far better at succeeding if you focus on your strengths. Also, um, you know the thing is that all of us are unique in our own ways, right? And what will make us world class, what will make us different from everybody else, what will give us that edge in whichever field we choose, will be the stuff that we are inherently very good at. So I feel that focusing on your strengths is probably the most important thing. And if you look at the common admission test, the first thing I would do is, out of the 3 sections, there will always be one section that you are really, really good at. And if I was in your place taking the common admission test today, I would just ensure that I'm completely killing it in the section that I am very, very good at. Because that is easier for me to do. That will ensure that I have a higher overall percentile as well. And it will probably also require least amount of effort. So um, I think it's a no-brainer in my brain, in my head, that go after the thing that you are really, really good at. And in the episode, obviously, I talk about the fact that if you look at, say, cricketers like Virender Sehwag, I think that if he had spent, too much time trying to worry about his technique, he would never have scored 2 triple centuries. I think the only way he could have, I mean, he scored 2 triple centuries and he also scored a 290. And that's only possible when you know what you're really good at. And he was just very good at scoring runs at a fast pace, make use of attacking field. So when so many of these uh, teams would attack him in a very, very uh, initial start of the innings, they would attack him by keeping the field very, very close, and he would just find so many gaps to hit over the top and score. Now, I think if he was coached by a very, very traditional uh, coach, or by somebody who had a very, very old mindset, he would have really struggled. And I think the best thing about him was that he never worried about how he was getting out or how he was looking when he was getting out. But at least when he was playing well, you knew that he could win you the game. And on his days, he was better than any player. And when I say any player, he was probably better even than better than even Sachin Tendulkar. In terms of helping India win that particular game. So I think that focusing on your strengths is probably a very, very important thing.
Yes. So yes, also in the episode, also you have mentioned about how you this things somehow in a way screwed up your cat attempt in 2007 because of this one thing, that reason that you were not focusing on your strength, and how you in the next attempt that you made it happen because you were focusing more on RCs and VA. So Ankit, before we had even started off this program, so I remember the two of us. You were telling me that something about the always overestimating yourself. So that is again, guys, that is the name of the first episode. So where you told me that people who keep on thinking that ki yaar, I will only score 95 percentile in CAT, so they in no then they no way actually are able to score more than 95% in CAT, but percentile in CAT, but the chances are higher than that they score somewhere around 92 to 93 percentile in the actual CAT exam. So for for to how to always overestimate yourself, as the title of your your first episode suggests. So why don't you throw some light on that?
Okay. So the first episode was always overestimate yourself. Um, the idea behind this particular episode is that you have to be an optimist to do well. I think that's one of the foundational principles of anybody who does something really, really special, right? Now, if you go into, say, for example, in the CAT exam, thinking about everything that could go wrong, more often than not, those things are going to happen to you. Whereas if you go with the mindset of um, saying that, what, it does not matter, what has been my mock scores over the last 3-4 months, I am going to really crack it today. And you have to enter the examination hall. In fact, you need to start believing that a day before that, tomorrow is going to be the best exam day that I've ever had. And I truly believe that you need to develop that particular skill. You need to develop that mental muscle to think positively. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that if you've been getting, say, 65 percentile in all these months in the CAT, you're suddenly going to make it to 99 percentile or, 99.5 percentile. I don't think that happens. I am yet to come across somebody who's managed to do that. And even if something like that has happened, I think the odds of that is like one in a million or something of that sort. So I wouldn't dwell too much on that. But preparation is important. When I say this, you know, it means that you put in the work over the last 6 months, 8 months, 3 months, whatever is the preparation that you require. And once you've done that, then the mental approach is that, what, I'm going to do really, really well. And if you think about all the best teams in the world, whether it was the Australian cricket team in the late 90s or early 2000s, or if you look at someone like Novak Djokovic and how he trains his mind before every single match or every single Grand Slam tournament, or if you even look at how Virat Kohli is, transformed himself from a player with potential to somebody who's now a world beater, all of them have this particular thing common, which is that after preparation, they have tremendous amount of self-belief and tremendous amount of positivity when they approach anything. So I think overestimating yourself is um, important. I would say that you need to develop a little bit of overconfidence. And it might sound as if this advice is stupid, but trust me, it's far better to be overconfident than to be having less confidence, because um, if you go into something not fully believing that the best outcome is possible, you are probably not likely to get that outcome anyway. So yeah, that was about the first episode and about overestimating yourself. And I must tell you that my own CAT attempt in 2008, the score that I got then was my best attempt ever. It was higher than the amount of score that I ever got in any of my mocks as well.
Yeah. Uh, so Ankit, in one of your episodes, the third episode, where you write about how should someone cut their losses and know when to give up. So there's a very interesting sentence that you use, that no CAT scorecard shows which tough question you were able to answer, nor does any IIM call you because you spent 20 minutes but got that really difficult question right. So because CAT is just coming in a few weeks and we keep on receiving messages and emails on how students and aspirants, they're not being able to choose the correct kind of question, and they of at times it becomes a sort of an ego tussle where they are not being able to move on from one question to the other. So for students like them, an episode like this has really helped them, so as they have commented and as they have also told us over emails. So why don't you tell us a bit about this the cut your losses episode that you have written?
Yeah. So again, that's a life philosophy, right? We as human beings are loss averse people, right? So, for example, if I tell you that you are likely to gain 1 million rupees if you bet 1,000 rupees, but if you don't win the bet, then you will lose the 1,000 rupees. Versus if I say that, you know what, I give you a bet where you will definitely get 2,000 rupees if you put a particular bet, but the chances of you not getting anything are very low, because you will come what may at least get 500 rupees back or 750 rupees back. And what most people will end up doing is, they will end up choosing uh, the option where they are going to get 2,000 rupees for sure, or have a higher chance of getting that and losing a lower amount of money. Because essentially we never think of, what if I could have gotten that 1 million at the risk of losing that 1,000 rupees. And you think about it in the stock markets as well, right? Like, if you bought a stock that is currently losing, say, 50,000 rupees, and you will continue to hold that, versus a stock where you are currently making 30,000 rupees and you are very, very uh, hasty to book that profit immediately. So you are unwilling to wait for that 30,000 to maybe go up to 3 lakhs, but you are okay if your loss of 50,000 rupees even becomes 75,000 rupees or 80,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees, because you cannot, as human beings, we are not programmed to be okay with a loss. You are always have that hope that, nahi, nahi, wo finally wo minus 50,000 will get converted into a profit later on. Whereas maybe the smartest thing to do at that point of time is, what, take the 50,000 rupee hit, get the capital back and reinvest in, companies or stocks that are going to give you more money. Now the same thing happens at the cat as well, right? What you end up doing is that you end up spending inordinate amount of time on questions that you are not able to solve. Now what happens is that you spend 3 minutes trying to solve it, you're not moving ahead. Now instead of cutting your losses and saying, what, it's fine, I've lost 3 minutes now, but I still have the remaining 100 odd minutes left to focus on the question that I could potentially get right, as compared to spending more time trying to solve this particular question. And it's a combination of variety of things. Like I said, you know there is the loss aversion. There is this thing around escalation of commitment. Like, for all those guys who've gone to B school, would have learned this concept in organizational behavior, where you end up putting more good money after bad, because that's the kind of thing you end up doing all the time. And सो अभी अब मैंने 3 मिनट डाल दिया है, तो हमेशा मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि अरे इसको मैं 2 मिनट और दूंगा ना, तो 2 मिनट के बाद तो ये मैं मेरे से सॉल्व हो ही जाएगा. Now I think it's and also obviously ego, like you pointed out, right? That you
Yeah.
know I'm it's my ego, and I am how can I not get this right? So I think it's a combination of all of these factors, and which is why to have the discipline to cut your losses quickly and say, what, I've lost this, and I'm not going to make a lot of headway here. Let me just move on to the next question and score more, or that I'll sell my investment in the loss making company, shift that investment in something that I'm doing well, and I'll start being better there. In fact, people make this mistake even in their jobs. A lot of people end up clinging to really, really poor quality jobs where they are not enjoying themselves, but they feel like, what, nahi, nahi, wo, मैं 3 महीने और रुक जाऊंगा तो I will get that promotion, and things will improve. And it's probably just better to quit the job immediately and get into a company where you're going to really enjoy working. So I think it's something that plays out in all aspects of our life, and in that sense, it obviously affects people who are taking the cat as well.
Right. Yeah. So on our live chat, Shubhankar Gupta, Palak Kakkar, they have thanked you for sending the emails. So Shubhankar is the person who has also suggested us to come up with ebooks for the Growth
Yeah.
Stories program.
Thanks, Shubhankar. Thanks, Palak. Thanks for your compliments, and we are definitely working on all the suggestions that you've given us.
Okay. So So Ankit, before the session began, so we had sent out a questionnaire to a form to all our community so that they can send us their questions. So we have received a few questions. So can we take them up one by one?
Yeah, sure. You are
Yeah.
the master of this
Okay.
program, so
Okay.
please go ahead.
Okay. Uh, so one of the most repeated questions that we have received is that how the pandemic is there. So there are 8 questions. So they have so people like Satyam have asked. So the pandemic is taking a toll on my mental health. So I want tips on how to have a positive mental attitude.
Okay, that's a tough question. I think, if
Yeah.
so, I'm not a psychologist or a counselor by qualification, and nor do I, say that I can really help you in this. So I think that if there is a mental health issue which is diagnosed, and you actually, even if it's not diagnosed, maybe it's better to go to a expert. Having said that, some basic things that I follow to try and keep myself positive during the pandemic is to focus on things that are within my control, and limit myself only to that. I think despite all the stuff that is beyond my control and which could be affecting me negatively, like it could be somebody losing a job, if it could be somebody who's probably uh, lost a loved one, etc. I think there are things which are in my control, and I'm going to only focus on that and try to be better every single day. And of course, all of this is easier for me to say, much tougher for somebody who's actually in the middle of it and experiencing. But largely I would say that focus on things which are in your control, which you can get better at. And there are obviously always things that we can be grateful about, and if we count our blessings, maybe that sometimes leads to positive energy. Be surrounded by, and when I say surrounded, obviously we can't even meet people because of social distancing, but maybe keep in touch with people who are generally positive, or will be encouraging of whatever you're doing, and are of you know are your well wishers. Let me put it that way. So yeah, that's, I think, what I would say.
Okay. So you have, in a way, you have also answered another question that where someone asked you about. So where Aishwarya has asked you about how did you manage to stay positive during the entire pandemic. So going to live chat. So guys, it's not a webinar where it's not an ask me anything where Ankit will be answering on strategies for cracking cats. So we'll be coming up with more such webinars where you can ask such questions. Uh, so we have a question from Akash Guha
Yeah,
Roy.
guys.
So
I
he's
mean,
asking, sir.
yeah, I was just
Yeah.
saying, Deban, that guys, I took the cat like really 12 years back, and I have zero um, understanding now of how to strategize for cat, or I probably won't be able to answer a cat question myself very well. So I'm the wrong person to ask that. What I can help you is just the mental makeup around it. So please, sorry.
So I'm sorry. So Akash Guhara is asking, sir, how to take calculated risks in life.
I think it depends on in what context you are saying this. I feel that no risk is uncalculated in that sense. I think it's unwise to take any risk without actually weighing the pros and cons of anything. Um, I do believe that you know it's often important to think about what is it that you are likely to lose when you are about to take a risk. So I mean, for example, if you are going to uh, invest your time in say dabbling into the stock market, or if you are going to invest your time signing up for a program which will take maybe 2 years of your normal professional life, and you're going to be losing some money because of that. You need to look at what is the potential outcome if things go well. So I think one of the mistakes that we make often is that, again, going back to the loss aversion nature that all of us have, a lot of us think of, the first instinct is to think of what can go wrong, right? And hence you will never end up taking risk. It's like, you know, should I start a company of my own? The first thing that you will ask yourself is, oh, how will I pay my bills? What if I have a lot of debt because of it? What if I go bankrupt because of that? And I think those are negative emotions which will then trap you into never taking that risk. Should you take a risk, in a stupid manner without having put the entire situation around you? No, absolutely not. So, people who do end up taking risks, like for example, I'll give you my own thought process when I decided to start my own company. Now, I was working in a fairly established, large MNC bank, was getting paid a pretty handsome amount of money every single month. And for me, the decision at that point of time was uh, very simple, that, I am at a particular age in my life. There is only so much that I can lose if things don't work out. And I have earned X amount of money already. If I don't take this risk now, I'll probably never be able to take it. Now, thankfully, that risk did work out for me. But it may not work out for you. But then, even then, when you take the decision, you realize that, okay, you know what? The maximum amount of time, money, and energy that I'm going to lose when I take this decision is X. And that calculation you would have done at some point of time intuitively when you end up taking the risk. But do also give this enough thought. What if this works out? What if I actually end up, building a really, really nice company, or building something very, very big? What are the potential, you know, outcomes and benefits of the decision working in my favor? And I think a lot of us don't have the ability to dream big enough, and hence we miss out on taking those risks. So that's probably just one thing that I would say about calculation while taking risks.
Okay. Okay. So Ankit Bhavya Suneja, so who is also your first council student, he has asked a question about how does growth affect self-belief while it develops your growth mindset. So Ankit, before you answer, so guys, council is a one-on-one career counseling and career guidance mentorship program that we are running currently, and Ankit is one of the mentors, experts who has been mentoring students for the last 6 months. So Bhavya Suneja is one of our students. So yeah, Ankit. So I've put up the link on the chat. So if you're interested, do check out. Yeah.
Okay, nice to see you, Bhavya, after quite some time. So I think your question was, how does failure affect self-belief while it also develops growth mindset? So I think, um, you know it's again, stupid to feel, to think that we will only be successful, and that, there will be no setbacks, when we endeavor to do something new and we try to endeavor to do something big. So i- to that extent, I believe that, um, you know you should be prepared for failure even before you start. Like, if you are prepared to take that in your stride, even before you start, I think you will be better prepared. I don't think that it's a straight line, success. Like, if you try to plot your growth in life, it's never going to be in a straight line. It's eventually going to be, like a curvy line that eventually goes up. As long as the overall trend is, um, looking up, I think you should be fine. So I think setbacks will happen. It's not something that's going to be easy. Even if you're preparing for CAT, for example, it's not like every mock exam you are going to be able to crack very well. You are obviously going to have issues at home. You're going to probably have a breakup in a relationship. So, I mean, there are like a million reasons why things are going to go wrong. But I think that's where resilience, fortitude, figuring out a way to um, be calm. Like, I think that one of the best examples of a person who manages to come out of most failure looking situations well is probably MS Dhoni. Like, if you think about MS Dhoni about 5-7 years back, I think I've you'd hardly ever see him being ruffled, even when things are going against him. And he's always calm, always has a demeanor where he feels that eventually he'll be able to, figure it out. And surprisingly, he was able to do that more often than not. So I think it's a temperament thing. And the only way you can be prepared for it is by actually psyching yourself to know that, what, things could go wrong, but eventually, my goal is long term, and I'm here in for uh, the long run, and I'm going to eventually make it happen for myself. So it's again, I don't want to sound very bombastic here and say that you know failure does not affect, I mean, failure affects me as well, and I have very, very bad days myself. I often feel as if nothing is ever going to go right, and I'm not going to make it. So those kinds of thoughts come to my mind as well, but I think eventually you give it a little time and you come out of it, because the overall disposition is very positive and you want to keep thinking ahead and you want to keep doing better.
Okay. Okay. So Ankit, Samin Zuberi has a question: how to keep up the spirit when mock scores are plummeting suddenly? So I think again that's a cat-related question. So Ankit, if you want
Yeah,
to
so
take this question, so
I think again it's like, what is mock test? Like, mock tests are like net practice in cricketing parlance, or they are practice matches, right? So first is that practice matches don't count
yeah,
in the final, on the final day. Practice match mein you could score three ducks and you could still score a century in the real match, and you could end up doing well. So first of all, you need to know that what happens in a practice match doesn't count. Having said that, I think you should identify what is the reason for plummeting scores. So, I mean, there is no alternative to preparation and hard work. So if the preparation is not good enough, and because of that his scores are plummeting, then you need to go back and work on your preparation. But if you are confident that you are putting in your best and you've really worked very hard and you're focused and you're doing well, then I think uh, a minor blip, or having two tests which have not gone off well, you shouldn't worry too much about that, because you have to have faith in your own preparation. You have to have faith in the fact that you put in the hours to do well. So I mean, don't really worry so much about it. And I would be very, very chill if I was in your place.
so Ankit, one of the questions from Vanshika Gupta is how can one stay confident in life when there are so many outperformers out there and you feel the inferiority complex always? So Ankit, for this, I think we can talk about the fourth episode that you wrote today, dealing with envy. So I think that would be a perfect way of explaining this question or answering this question, sir.
Yeah, I think, what, unfortunately, because of Instagram and because of the fact that we have so much exposure to social media, etc., we obviously look at the perfect versions of everybody else's life, and we feel that we are nobodies and we are nothing, right? Having said that, of course, there are always going to be people who are going to be better than you. And if you've read the episode today on dealing with envy, what I talk about essentially is the fact that um, you know we find it difficult to accept that there could be people who are better than us. Sometimes we find it difficult to accept the fact that uh, we probably need to do more to also become an outperformer and also be really, really good. Like, we start feeling that the universe is unfair to us, that I'm working so hard and I'm not getting what I deserve. um, it I think sometimes also reflects on the fact that we don't appreciate the good qualities that we have. So, rather than looking at other people's profiles and looking at other people's achievements and feeling that, oh shit, this guy is doing so well or this girl is doing so well, why am I not doing so well? I think first look at what are the things that you've been endowed with. There are gifts that the universe has given you, God has given you, and be grateful about it. And then now focus on, okay, how can I really make it big using what I have got, right? And also, I want to say that a lot of what you see on social media or what you hear from people is not always true. So, what you consider as achievement is sometimes just a PR exercise. Sometimes these people that you are jealous of are people who are have a lot of troubles, fears, and insecurities of their own. So, how do you deal with it? I would say that convert your um, envy, jealousy, insecurity into an inspiration. So if you know somebody who's an outperformer, then learn what you can do to become an outperformer like that particular person. What is it that I can do to up my level and improve myself at whatever I'm doing, right? So I think a wholesome analysis of why are you feeling that, and um, you know why you are not confident, looking at other people. First understand the root cause of that, and then if you still feel that what, I'm not good enough, then figure out a way to be inspired by these people and start working on things that will hopefully help you improve. Also remember, eventually the your race is only with yourself. And obviously it sounds odd, I say it, also when we are talking about things like cat, etc., where you're competing with other people. But I mean, in a 70-year lifespan, you will have ups and downs. So if you are doing well today, eventually you will not do well. If you are not doing well today, eventually you will do well. If you are going to keep working hard, and if you have a positive mindset, and if you're working, eventually you will get the results that you deserve or desire. But it's important to I think just stay calm in all situations. And again, it's very easy for me to say, because it's not like social media or um, you know news of people doing well has not affected me. Of course, it affects me equally, like it affects everybody else. But I think for me, the way I've managed to come out of it is just treat any kind of achievement of another person as inspiration and start working on myself and using good things from other people to improve my game. And yeah, I think that's the best way to deal with it.
Okay. So, Ankit, while we have discussed a lot about the aspirant track, the fourth episodes that we have already written, so why don't you tell our readers a bit about what's in store for them in the current student track and the working professional track that you're currently working on? So, I think they will be interested in knowing that.
No, the way I've structured the program is such that there are certain basic principles which apply to everyone and everything in life, right? So mm, when I say things like know when to cut your losses, or always overestimate yourself,
Yeah,
or dealing with envy, that is applicable to every single person. So essentially, the program just has modifications with the same principles. Um, the idea is that people who are currently in a university, or people who are already in their professional lives, probably require a slightly different approach and examples. So it's just a minor modification to that extent. And we've even priced the programs equally for everyone. So I think
correct.
that I mean, if you ask me, it doesn't matter what track you sign up for, you're going to find it useful and beneficial. Uh, but yeah, I mean, there are people who have very cat specific psychology and worry around cats. So which is why I thought maybe it's important to have a separate aspirant track as well. So from tomorrow, I think we'll also start sending the free episodes for the current students and working professionals. And you'll find that in your mailbox. The first few episodes will be free for you guys, and then eventually, you can sign up if you feel that it is worth your time and it is worth whatever I've been writing about or talking about. Also remember that we will be doing special live sessions only for people who are subscribers. So while today's session is for everyone,
Yeah.
over the next 30 days we will be doing some webinars which will be on invitation basis only for subscribers.
Guys, so the we are also running an early bird offer on the growth stories with Ankit Doshi. So the early bird offer gets over tomorrow at midnight. So if you're interested, so we have had a lot of subscribers as of now. So in case you're interested, do sign up. So we'll be sending you one article, one episode every day to your inbox at 9 a.m. At 9 a.m. So also, as Ankit has said, that we'll be conducting growth meets where Ankit, you can all talk to Ankit directly, have interactions with Ankit, asking, discuss issues, ideas, and have Q&As with him. And the most, I think, what how I see it is that the best thing about the growth stories is that it will really help you to turn your motivation and will give you the motivation to turn your intent into action. So if you're interested in being a subscriber, so we are already running an early bird offer, as I just said. So please check the link that I have posted. So I have posted both the links for the aspirant track as well as people who are currently in the B schools and working professionals. So the pricing is the same for both. So do check them out.
Debayan just likes to
Yeah.
put all kinds of
So Ankit, back
fancy
to
lingo
some.
to things. Turn your intent into action and motivation into action. You don't. I mean, don't need to worry about those kinds of things. I think you should sign up if you feel that uh, what I write and I send you is useful for you, and it will make you think and maybe help you make better decisions. Just let's keep it very simple.
Yeah, yeah. So Shubhankar Gupta has a compliment for you. So he's saying Ankit is a more accessible version of Charlie Munger. Okay, nice.
No, I think that's just embarrassing
Uh, and
to be compared like
so
that. I would never in my life either believe it or even allow anybody else to say that. I think Charlie Munger is at another level. He's worth many $1 billion. So let's not get into that.
okay. So Palak is asking, sir, how to remain calm when we are constantly under pressure to do good.
Yeah, I think don't be under pressure in the sense that if I was in your place, I would leave all the things that make me feel pressured. Um, I would say that only allow as much pressure in your life that inspires and motivates you to compete. Otherwise, it's not worth it. Like there is no point. I can't think of too many people who uh, do very well under extreme amount of stress. So if something is stressing you out, then maybe you should just quit. If that does not mean that I'm not saying that you are a quitter, right? I normally feel that even if you're trying to attempt something very difficult, eventually uh, it needs to be done in an organized way where your mental sanity is still you know in place. It can't overwhelm you to the extent that you're not able to do anything. So, and again, I think that good preparation, good planning, um, figuring out what you are good at, not worrying about things that are not in your control. I think if you follow some of these things, then it's very unlikely that you will feel too much of a pressure. And I think sometimes it's important to choose what you are doing and why you are doing it rather than figuring out how to do it. Maybe you don't need to do it.
Okay. So yes, Ankit. So we also have a question from someone who is currently at a B school. So Suraj has asked a question that he is in his final year MBA. So, but there are no companies who are visiting his campus for placements. He has been trying to reach out to recruiters offline, but lately he has seen there's a drop in his confidence. So, how can he make himself more? What should he do to make himself more confident? Uh,
Yeah, I think it's obviously a tough one. In India, there is obviously the demand for jobs is obviously always higher than the supply for jobs, right? So in that sense, there are thousands of people who are in a similar boat. Um, with respect to how can you become more confident, I think you need to first understand that sometimes you not getting a job is not a function of your ability, but sometimes it's a function of the environment around you. And I understand that it's extremely stressful to be in a situation where maybe you need to start earning soon and you need to start contributing to your family soon, and you're not able to do so because uh, you know for whatever reason situation is not helping you. Again, I would go back to basics. I would first go back and look at what is it that I am really good at, what is it that I will do a fantastic job in. Then I would start looking at the kind of companies and sectors that will fit my personality and what I will be really good at. And then I would do terrific amount of preparation. to ensure that if I were to get a chance to do an interview with any of these companies or to interview for those jobs, then I am really, really going to crack it. Next, I think if there are no companies coming to your campus, then you need to start reaching out to companies. And trust me, if you write to 500 people, somebody will respond. Somebody will give you a chance. What is important, however, is to not just apply to any company for any reason. Because then it means that you are just a desperate job seeker. I mean, as somebody who hires, I would always look at somebody who's a desperate job seeker not very kindly, because it means that you are not sure of what you really want to do. So, really, really pursue what you want and be committed, for do follow-ups, and go hard at what you really want, but then know what you want. And then, if you write to enough number of founders, managers, senior people, there are people who will give you a chance. Maybe you can start with an internship, maybe you can start with a live project somewhere. Prove to them that you are a great potential employee, or a co-worker, and people will give you a chance. So I think that's how I would look at the situation.
Okay. Okay. So there's one very interesting question from another Ankit. So he's asking, how did you come up with such interesting names for your episodes? So
I don't think, I mean, there is, I'd imagine it's common knowledge. What I'm saying, it's the goal is to ensure that people can understand it very quickly. See, what I write, and the content of what I prepare or create is supposed to be as simple as possible for people to understand. It should not be too intellectual. It's something that people should be able to apply in their life easily. And typically, the way I write is to ensure that from the title itself, you know exactly what you're going to get. I'm not creating any cryptic title, where you see something. There is no clickbait here. You read, cut your
yeah,
losses soon, and the entire article is about that. You read how to deal with envy, and I'm only going to talk about that, right? So I think there is, basically an attempt to keep things as simple as possible. And thanks for the compliment, Ankit.
so Aishwarya has a question. So how do you figure out what you want when there are so many opportunities in front of you?
Yeah, but I mean, Aishwarya, have you gone to a wedding? I think in the world of social distancing today, we probably won't get enough opportunities to go to weddings. But when you go to, a big fat wedding, go to a big fat Gujarati wedding, Marwadi wedding, Punjabi wedding, whatever wedding, whichever part of India you are in, and you will find, like, there are like 50 items for you to eat, and some 70 types of desserts, and hundreds of types of ice creams, etc., available. And obviously, at that point of time that you're not going to be able to eat everything, right? But you figure out, um, based on variety of information that you collect. You probably sample a little bit of everything, and then figure out what is it that you want to really dig in, or speak to people around you, and they will recommend good things to you, or they'll tell you what is really, really bad. And some people's judgment you will trust. And I think in that sense, making choices in life is not very different from eating from a buffet. uh, and sorry for making the example very simplistic, but I genuinely believe that you know you can decide what you want based on um, a variety of factors, and don't complicate life too much. Eventually, you keep trying things, you keep opening doors, and eventually certain things click, and certain things you really, really uh, you know resonate with, and you should continue with that. So, I mean, I would say that, be honest at all points of times. You don't do anything that you are not really liking or you're not enjoying. Just leave it. But if you do like something, then give it a good shot. Then I think you have a higher chance of doing well in that.
Okay. So Ankit, we have a question from Alipriya. So she is asking, so that I have set a parameter for myself where I tend to think that cracking CAT and getting to a top B school would mean that I'm not a failure. How can I come out of that mindset?
Okay, so this is actually something that I'm going to write extensively about going forward in one of the episodes, Alipriya. But to keep the give you a very short answer at this point of time, I would just say that there is more to life than cat, and you cannot allow one exam to dictate your self worth in any way. Uh, and I will write more extensively about this particular issue because I think this is something that a lot of people face.
So, Ankit, why don't you tell us what the upcoming 25 episodes? So, if you can give a gist, of course, we will not be discussing what you're going to write on in those 25 episodes. So, what will those 25 episodes have? So, if, for example, the names or the concepts that you are, or maybe the topics that you're choosing to write on the 25, the next upcoming 25 articles, episodes that you're currently working on for the aspirant track.
Um, well, I don't think I am in a position to tell you that they ban. There,
Okay.
I think it needs to be a surprise, and you know, we have to be fair to people who are, who have put in the effort to actually, and also have voted with their money by paying for the subscription, and it's something that they will be privy to. We will eventually make it public once the entire thing is out. But at this point of time, I would say that, for example, I mean, so one of the things I'll definitely talk about is the question Alipriya spoke about, because that's something that I've faced myself at some point of time in the past across various times in my life for different reasons, and that's something that's close to my heart. So I'll definitely talk about that. There are many other learnings that I've had, while playing cricket professionally, while leading teams, while running my own venture, while being at B school, uh, when I've decided to invest my money in either the stock market or in the business, etc. So there are a lot of learnings that I've had, and I think everything can be distilled into one concept or philosophy. Also, I want to say that what I say is not necessarily the truth or the ultimate answer to everything. Right? I'm just giving you my perspective about life. Now, you might disagree with that. Like, for example, I remember the first episode when you put out always overestimate yourself. And there was a comment on Instagram where someone's like, oh, that's so wrongly put. I completely disagree with this. So, of course, there will be differing opinions as well. But I have a point of view in life, and I'd like to share that point of view with everyone. And if you think that what I'm sharing is useful, then come on board, and we can have a good time discussing it.
So as you mentioned that things that are close to your heart, for example, the fact that you have played cricket professionally and everything. So we can see that in almost every of your episode how you have weaved in your examples of your cat preparation, then cricket, then movies. So since I know that how much you're into movies, so that's why also put up in your episode you have spoken about MS Dhoni, the movie, and then Dangal. So what motivates you? So from where do you get these inspirations to and rather not inspiration, the ideas to weave weave stories in such a nice manner, from taking examples from movies and coming to today's episode where you wrote about the chess player in your maternal hometown. So if you just can give a sneak peek into that, you're thinking.
No, again, I think the goal is that more people should be able to understand. I think in India, when you talk about something using the examples of cricket or movies, I think it's easier for people to understand. And I am a very mainstream kind of a person, so my likes and dislikes are you know very common manish. So yeah, I like watching the IPL. I like watching Test cricket. I like watching um, an intense, kind of a movie which only few people like to watch, and I equally like watching a complete blockbuster that you know every small kid also knows about. And I feel drawing from that and then using that to communicate with people is probably an easier way for people to also understand what I'm trying to say. So that's basically the thought behind it. It's yeah, nothing more than that actually.
Okay. So, Ankit, we have a question from Jyoti Pandey. So she's asking how to overcome self-criticism when oneself failed to achieve the goal.
Yeah, I think that's the bit, right, where I spoke about focusing on your strengths and not your weaknesses. Most
Yeah.
of the self criticism comes from the fact that you always feel you're inadequate, that something is lacking in you, and you completely ignore the fact that there is so many special qualities in you, right? And I would just change my focus on all the things that make me special. And there are always things that make every single individual special. So I think once you do that, you would get out of the self criticism trap, hopefully. See, have the humility to accept that you are not going to be good at everything. Have the humility to accept that there are areas where you have to improve. But that does not mean that you don't give yourself credit for things that you are really really good at. And I think that is the main thing that I'd like people to take back.
Okay. Guys, again, there are a lot of questions regarding cat preparation. So, guys, we'll not be taking any cat related questions, cat preparation or strategy related questions in this Ask Me Anything. So, if you have any questions related to cat, please feel free to reach out to us at editor@insideam.com. We'll be more than happy to help you out. Uh, so, and also we are almost towards the end of the Ask Me Anything session. So, we'll take a last couple of questions. So, one of them is from Siddharth Singh. So he's asking how to build that self confidence when you know that there are people who are better, who are better than you. So Siddharth, so Ankit has answered this very question some time back. So I suggest that once the live is over, please watch the video once again. I think you'll Ankit has already answered your question. Yeah. Uh, okay.
Yes. Um, I was just reading the questions myself. Um, there's some question on by I think Chinmay. What is something where CA students are lacking as compared to
Yeah.
MBAs?
To MBA
And
students. Yeah.
yeah, so again, this is a classic thing, right, where you are again looking at what's probably lacking in you rather than something that's special about you. But having said that, I think it's difficult to generalize, Chinmay, that I don't look at CAs and MBAs as two distinct identities, and you can be both, by the way. Also, are there things that make MBAs a particular way? Maybe, but I think largely the way you need to look at this is um, what are the skills that currently being a child accountant you are not able to get in the environment that you are in, which maybe an MBA can help you. So um, I would say that there is nothing inherently lacking in a chartered accountant. It's just that you haven't probably worked on certain things that MBAs get an exposure to and get a chance to work in when they are in a B school. So I think that's one of the ways you can maybe look at how you want to bridge that gap that is probably there in your head. Also know that there are aspects that about chartered accountants which are very very beneficial to them, and that make CAs very good professionals. You can go to any of the financial services firms in India, and they will tell you that for a lot of jobs, they would, prefer, even if they want to hire an MBA, they would prefer that the MBA actually has a CA degree as well. So again, I would say that remember that there are a lot of great things that the CA degree gives you. There could be gaps that you can plug easily by either getting an MBA or just figuring out skills that you can develop around it. Of course, there are things like peer network, etc., which a CA does not give you that easily. But you know, I guess you can't have everything in life. So you probably need to figure out a way to develop your own network.
Okay. So Soumya Ranjan is asking, I don't like my job. I don't feel I can grow here. I am a fresh BTech. 2019 grad feels I feel very demotivated and feel like I have wasted my engineering studies. Uh,
Yeah, so Soumya Ranjan, I think there is nothing that you can do to change your past, right? So I would stop worrying about what has already happened and start afresh today and take a decision right now. What is it that I want to do now? If I don't like my job, and if there is no way I can figure out a way to make it better for me, then I would just quit that job. But before I do that, I would work very hard on figuring out an alternate plan, which will make me happy and which will probably take me in the right direction, or at least will definitely be better than my current situation for sure. Right? Sometimes decision by elimination is also a great strategy. So that's how I would look at it. And I think you should not pass a judgment on whether you wasted your engineering studies. I think knowledge once gained never goes waste. That's one of the things that my teachers used to tell me, and I would kind of stick to that. I think there are a lot of things that come back to you, and as Steve Jobs says, you can never connect the dots. Looking forward, you can always only connect them looking backward. So eventually, it will be of use to you. So don't pass a judgment on that. So
so Ankit, we are almost about to end the Ask Me Anything with you. So why don't you give a small this thing about recap about
no,
what all the four
we can
episodes?
take a couple of questions,
Okay,
Deba, and I'm not in a hurry.
sure.
Uh, if there are pending
Okay.
questions,
So there are questions based on CAT preparation strategies. So we are not doing it for CAT prep. So people are asking whether they should go for online MBA. So again, this webinar is not for that. So let me just see if there are any questions that I have missed. So there are career guys. So guys, you have also asked. There are a lot of questions regarding career guidance. So for that, again, this is not the webinar. So if you want career guidance from Ankit, so I have put up the link for the one-to-one career guidance that you can sign up for. So here's the link. So in case, so stuff around whether you should go for BBA or engineering, what kind of career, whether you start off your venture or go for an MBA. I think these things require fine tuning, and these things require Ankit to understand your profile, and it's not a cookie cutter approach that he can take. So I think you should definitely apply for the council program here, and Ankit will be there to help you out. Yeah. Uh, Shubhankar is asking for lessons on time management.
yeah, I am not very
And
good at it, Shubhankar, personally. So I don't know if I am the right person to answer that. I get my priorities mixed up a lot often. And well, in one of my episodes, I'll talk about the mistakes that I've made with respect to using my time badly. That I'll definitely be talking about.
okay, okay. So this is the last of the questions. Apart from that, we've taken all the questions. So Yogandhar is asking, what would be your suggestions to youngsters these days?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Tip of advice to youngsters. Yeah. So Yogandhar is asking tip of advice to youngsters these days.
I I don't. I like to believe I am also young, Debayan. So I don't know if there is a, um, answer that. I mean, any advice that I give anybody else would apply to me as well. And honestly, I'm not that old or experienced to give advice to youngsters. I don't know what that even means, honestly.
Okay. Okay. So here's a very interesting question. So it is not a part of a growth mindset, but Shivam is asking you. So what was your answer to why do an MBA when you took your CAT 12 years ago?
I did an MBA because I'll give you the right answer. I mean, the honest answer around it. I did my MBA because I didn't know what else to do, and also I thought that it was cool to do an MBA. I used to see uh, people in the newspaper being featured who would get a lot of high amount of salaries, and uh, then they would graduate and people would talk about them in some way. And also, I realized that a lot of really smart, powerful people seem to have done an MBA in India from the IIMs. So my reasons for doing an MBA were very um, influenced by popular media. It wasn't a very soundly done decision. What answers I gave people, I told people that I want to start my own company and I feel that MBA is the right way to do that. And that was also a right answer. It's just that it wasn't my top answer. But obviously, I can't tell people that I think that it is cool to be an MBA and that's why I'm doing it. So, which is why I would tell people that in my interviews that uh, I want to do an MBA because uh, I want to start my own company. Having said that, I was quite poor at most of my interviews, so I I had gotten calls from 3, 4 institutions, and I actually hadn't converted anything. I was only on the wait list of most places, and then finally, just before the IIM Indore session was going to start in 2009, I got a call from them saying that we have one seat that's opened up. Would you like to join? So, I mean, I'm not a very good example of an MBA. So don't follow me for sure in any way.
Sorry. So Ankit, we have one last question. It's from Namrata Deepti. So she's asking, all the motivational talks seem to pump in a temporary excitement, and the self-belief lasts only till another failure strikes. How to sustain the growth mindset?
Yeah, that's a great question, I think. And it's honestly, Namrata, that's something that I struggle with myself as well. So I have to keep, egging myself on and, stay positive and to come back to this particular line of thinking at all points of times. So I agree it's hard. Um, I think one way to do this is positive reinforcement and doing I mean the same way that you do revision of say your concepts when you are doing taking an exam, or when you do preparation to get somewhere in life, you often also keep doing, you should do that also for these life philosophies and principles as well. Like you should go back to things that help you think better, and you should keep doing that as well, you know regularly. So every time failure strikes, or every time that you feel low, or if you feel that you're demotivated, probably one of the best ways is to go back to either content or inspirational stories, or movies or books that will help you get back on track. That's how I would look at uh, you know solving for this particular issue. So in my case, for example, if I feel very, very low, I often go back to some of the stuff that I've written myself, or there are some great videos on YouTube, or some movies that I really like, and I often do that as well.
Okay. Okay. So Ankit, here's a question from Nidhi Malkan. So Nidhi is asking, how do you strive for growth mindset in times of uncertainty, or when you're unsure of what or of what you want to do?
Yeah, hi Nidhi. I think I know who you are. Um, my sense is that you're asking this question, um, which is in a way connected to confusion. So I think it is connected to that question that Aishwarya had asked some time back, which is, when there is so much to choose from. And she's added one more flavor of uncertainty to the whole thing as well. So I agree, it's obviously hard. But my view is that you have to take a stand at some point of time and say that, look, this is what I'm going to pursue. And how long is the uncertainty going to lie, right? I mean, the uncertainty is not going to be permanent, and the decisions that you make are typically going to be long term decisions which are not going to change in 6 months time or 8 months time. So if I was in your place, I would look at the long term picture and say, what is it that's not going to change 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And any effort or allocation of resources that I do, I would do that in that direction, so that I am not really wasting any energy right now on things which probably will not exist soon. I don't know if I made sense.
Okay, so Ankit, you have answered all the questions that people have asked you in the live, and also have taken up all the questions in the form. So mostly they were on cat. So we have taken up all the questions. So Can we do a quick recap of the 4 episodes of the growth stories with Ankit Doshi before we sign off?
Yeah, so guys, tomorrow is the final episode of the free growth stories, and we've covered 4 topics so far. The first one was always overestimate yourself, be a little overconfident. The second one spoke about focusing on strengths versus worrying about weaknesses. The third episode was talking about cutting your losses, knowing when to give up. The fourth episode was on dealing with envy, and tomorrow's episode is a surprise, of course, but that's free. And you can choose to write to me and tell me how you felt it was. Also, tomorrow will be the final day before we go behind the paywall. So, if you'd like to get more such stories and if you'd like to do growth meets with us, then please sign up for this particular program. It's going to be there for 30 days. You'll also get access, like lifetime access to all the content, which we are going to be sharing over the next 30 days. And I really, really hope that you will support creators, and support people who work hard to put out content. And I'm not talking only about me. I think a lot of effort goes on within our team, when every single video is put up. And to be honest, we'd love to be compensated by you rather than being compensated by large corporations or universities, etc. Right? So make this happen, and the growth stories is just one step in that direction. And yeah, I look forward to engaging with a lot of you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Last two questions before we sign off. So Siddharth Singh is asking, what are the top traits recruiters are looking for in a B school candidate and how to portray the same during interview? So Siddharth, this is not a question Ankit will be taking. It's not a part of this webinar. So I have put up a link of this for Skills MBA report that we had put up a few months back. So it's been done after research with the top campus recruiters. I think this is going to help you. So Ankit, one last question is from Manthan. He's asking, how do you decide whether not something is your cup of tea without giving up on things too early?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I don't think there is one size fits all answer for that, because it depends on what is the thing that you are trying, right? So, um, see, typically, for example, if you're starting a new business, I would say that you give yourself at least a 2 year frame to try that. Like, you can't start something and give up in 3 months, for example. Um, if you are, you, having said that, if within the first 3 months or 6 months you realize that, what, I am not cut out for entrepreneurship, then it's better to cut your losses immediately and go back to what you want to do. Uh, what I think ends up becoming a problem is that you want to be an entrepreneur, and every 3 months you are changing what business you want to do. And maybe that's not the best strategy, because you're essentially then just wasting time. Um it's a delicate balance that needs to be struck. So I'm not sure that there is a one answer to that. Like, there is no one time frame that you say, "Ki, हाँ, ये इतना time दिया तो ये enough है." I think in most cases you will know. If you are honest to yourself, in most cases you will know whether something is working for you or no. Should obviously figure out a way to not become delusional and not give yourself. I think getting feedback from others, asking people what they genuinely feel about what you're doing, whether it's a job, whether it is a business that you want to start, or whether it is a particular type of a profession or a career that you want to undertake. Get feedback from people, understand what is it that they feel. uh, Eventually, I think a lot of it is self belief. Sometimes, like, for example, having said all of this, there are so many people who had years and years of rejections, right? Like, you think about, I don't know if you guys are watching Scam 1992 now. The hero of, who's playing Arshad Mehta, that guy Pratik Gandhi, has been at it for 16 years, and he's only recently found success even in his regional cinema. And he's been rejected, like, if you read any of his interviews, he'll tell you he's been rejected like tens and tens of times. But I think there was, at some, he also talks about he had belief in his craft and his ability to do well, and his preparation behind his act. And eventually, obviously, things worked out for him. I think now he's obviously in demand and is doing a fabulous job of the um, I mean, it's a phenomenal series, and I think he's done outstandingly well. And I'm sure that whatever other roles that he gets, he'll probably always do well. But that's like a 16-year-old story, so that requires conviction and another kind of determination as well. So, but I think that for example, he at all points of time probably knew that he was really good at acting, good at being in front of the camera. So I think wo honesty you need to have with yourself at all times.
Okay. Okay, Ankit. Thank you so much, Ankit, for being a part of this AMA, and thank you so much, guys, for joining us live. So, guys, I have put up the link for the registration link for the 30 episode Growth Stories program here. So I'll repeat one. So before signing off, so once again, tomorrow is the last date for the early bird offer, and do read out the fifth episode. It's free, and after that, we are going behind the paywall. So I hope a lot of you sign up for this. And if you have any questions, do reach out to us at editor@insideam.com. Or if you have any questions regarding to the growth stories, please reach out to us at growth@insideam.com. So Ankit will be responding into your questions over there. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah. Thank you, Ankit.
Thank you. Thanks, Diban.